because when he was focused on the dragonfly, he was focused on the dragonfly. But
Yeah.
then he got distracted from it, and the impulse was that I see this other thing. I now must go chase it. Impulse right away, right now.
Welcome to the Levelin Up podcast with Brigham Blackham. I've got my good friend Christine Diamond here. She's from Harvest Consulting. She helps real estate investors live in their genius zone. So grateful to have her today. Now, she's not just helped like 40 plus businesses go and scale to over 6 figures, but she's actually someone that understands how to really be intentional with their organization and their offers. And one of the things I really want to talk about today are these 3 keys to making sure that your offers are valuable. The first one is access. The second one is service. And the last one is priority. And if you want to remember it, so SAP, service, access, priority, it's sappy. It's kind of a sticky thing to remember. But as we're going through this conversation, we're going to come at it from multiple perspectives, from her perspective, from my perspective. And if you guys have some insights, feel free to add those into the chat. But we're going to have a great conversation. Christine, how are you doing today?
It is a beautiful morning, and I'm so happy to be here. So really excited for our conversation.
Wonderful. Me too. Me too. So tell us a little bit about your experience in business. I mean, harvest, that's such a great title of a business because you're like, well, we're always going to be planting seeds. But at some point, you're like, we got to harvest the plant. So let's hear, how do you come up with that as your business?
Yeah, as the business name.
Yeah,
So
I think
the
it's
law of the
brilliant.
harvest is basically the law of cause and effect, except for it's more in a natural setting. So I know that there's some people who don't like saying hustle culture, and there's some people who just like to go with the flow. And I think that the law of the harvest is a nice harmony in the middle, where
Mm.
you are growing at a healthy pace that is sustainable for your well-being, for your livelihood, for your friends, your family, all the other things that you do in life. You're not exhausting and burning out every ounce of your creative powers just to work, but you're also not just all over the place scattering seeds wherever. You have a plan, you have a direction, you have a focus. And so the law of the harvest is really about knowing what seeds you're planting. And if you are in real estate, you are in the long game. So you're essentially, like, an analogy for that would be like you're creating an orchard of apple trees, and those take 2 to 3 years before they are ready to harvest. You do need to have your chicken coop and your vegetable garden, something that you can eat right now. And so that's why I love the combination of real estate investors and business owners, is that your business needs to feed your family and create more cash flow that you can then park into your wealth generating assets. So that's really what I love helping people do.
I love it. And you speak my language. I feel so excited.
Yeah.
So there's actually a Chinese expression that I wanted to share a little story with because that just popped into my head. So it's ba miao zhu jiang. There's a story, this ancient Chinese story, where there was this farmer and he was brand new to farming. He didn't know anything about it, but he saw all his neighbors when he moved into town. Like, man, their harvest is so good right now. And he planted these little rice, this rice paddy, and he's like, well, when's the rice coming in? And he got a little impatient. And you know what he went and did? He went out and he started pulling up all
Yeah.
these little seedlings and helping him a little bit. He's like, well, you're not very tall. Let me help you a little bit. And he went through his entire rice paddy, and guess what happened within the week?
He killed it.
He killed all of them. And that expression, ba miao zhu jiang, when you grab the sprout or the rice before it's ready, if you force growth, a lot of times you kill it. So the law of the harvest, I love how you brought that up because you follow true principles and you understand what the true principle is, and then eventually you can get that harvest. But if you follow the true principles and you then don't act on them over the amount of time that you need, because he did plant right, he watered it, but he tried to rush the process, you kill the plant, you don't get a harvest. So what's your thoughts on that? I don't know. This is a
I don't know
little
how to say it, but I like the story about, I don't know. My daughter was in Chinese immersion, so I was like,
nice.
sure. So thank you for the story.
Oh, you're welcome.
I think
I'll,
it's
I'll text that to
awesome.
you too if you want later, but no, it's good.
Yeah, definitely
She'll love
true.
that. That's
Good,
a
good
1,000-year-old
analogy.
saying. It's great. Well, let's go here. So when you're making an offer, when you are creating a business and you're like, all right, here's our primary offer. I love this idea that people pay for those three things. That sappy example, right? Service, your access, and your priority. Let's first talk about service. What is the purpose of having multiple tiers of service in an offer?
So service first is about helping someone else with either something that is an ailment or something that is their dream,
Mhm.
or both. And
Yeah.
so a tiered approach, like I do have the accountability cohort that's more approachable, and then I have my Harvest Business Accelerator, which is like 90 days and robust overhaul of your operations. The accountability cohort, those kind of like that tier is for those who just want like steady progress, right? And so the tiered approach is basically you are showing up in the way that someone needs you to show up.
Mm.
You're providing them options that will fit truly how they need your help.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty straightforward that it's like if you're going to create different packages, it should be for a reason, not just for different price points.
Yeah. And I guess one way to think about this is, do you want to do it by yourself? Do you want to do it with somebody, or do you want to do it for somebody?
Mhm.
Those are totally different scales of service.
They
And
are.
depending on what their needs are, what they want and what they want to accomplish, that ideal customer will be willing to pay more for higher levels of service.
Yeah.
So how does that appear in all of your clients? I mean, you've served over 40 people, or I guess 40 businesses, which is lots of
Yeah.
employees as well. But
Yeah.
how does it typically appear? Is there an example or a concrete example? You're like, oh, this is something that people are really willing to pay for as far as service, but not maybe this other thing.
Right. So with these different business owners, what I've realized is those that are ready for something that is intensive, that is dedicated, is they have enough strain that that business owner realizes they're their own bottleneck and
Mm,
they are in the way of their growth, that pretty much they're limited at truly being able to delegate. They don't know how to automate. They haven't set aside the actual processes. Everything's in their head. And they finally come to the understanding they're like, I need to get out of my own way. I'm rippling into all of these problems instead of rippling into all the solutions. So those people are ready for like, let's just do this. Like, give me everything you've got. Let's clean it up. And I kind of compare it to like clean house. I don't know if you know Marie Kondo, but it's kind of like
yeah,
the
I love
clean
Marie Kondo.
house
She's
of,
phenomenal.
yeah, it's like the clean house of your business, your real estate business or your established business. It's like we come in and we're saying, okay, now everything has a home and now it brings you joy.
Mm. Yeah,
And
because if it doesn't bring you joy, then why do you have the object, right? There's
why do
so
you
many
have the
people.
business if you are just having your life drained? A lot of people talk about leaving the 9 to 5, and I run my business in the 9 to 5. 9 to 5 schedule actually works for me. The freedom of choosing how I run my day is what is so powerful about running your own business. So if
Mm,
your business is running you, then you have the worst boss. You went from just like a W-2, like you're dependent upon that employer for your livelihood, to being able to create what you want, but then becoming a slave to your own business. And I want to free people from that slavery of the business running them and them just like responding to all the fires and instead being intentional. And so with that package and that high offering, it is pretty much like I'm their business developer at the side at their side, right? So like you were saying, that tiered approach is done with you and done for you. Services are much higher in quality, in customization, in experience, and transformation. The other approach I have is for those who are like, I know that I need this, but I don't have the time, money, energy to dedicate to just truly an overhaul. But I would like to be accountable to these projects I've been putting off on the back burner. So in that accountability cohort group, there's this positive peer pressure environment where other assistants and business owners are just putting on the blinders And they're like, I'm getting stuff done. Don't distract me with any other project or any other thing I could do. And then they see like incremental progress going, oh, now it's at 50%. Now I'm 75% done. I completed it, and we celebrate it. There's gamification where there's points and prizes associated, and we still follow that 90-day pattern, which again, for the law of the harvest, follows seasons. So if you think of the 4 seasons in the areas of the world that have 4 seasons, every 90 days, humans can stick to something focused for 90 days. Then if you revisit it and you go, I'm satisfied, I realize what I accomplished, I know what works and what didn't work, then you have that evaluation and kickstart something again. You go into the next kind of season. So I feel like with my tiered approach, it's like, if you're ready for taking action and serious, here's the overhaul, and then here's the maintenance. Here's how you just keep it going once we build that together.
No, that's excellent. If you could help us understand how access is appearing in your business, maybe in other people's business, when someone pays, say, like $30,000 to be part of a group versus $30 a month, the access that they have to you, your time, your energy, your creativity is drastically different.
Oh yeah.
Maybe these people that paid $30 a month, they are at that, you get my group time once a week or once a month, whenever you have that. And the other people are like, literally any time that you can, that's during business hours, like, I got you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your approach with access.
I think that's super important to set is access, I feel like, is healthy boundaries in your business. Is each person has precious resources that we don't think about, and that is your time and your energy. So money can continue to grow, and you can earn billions. You can have so much wealth. You can have so many relationships. You can have so many things, but the time that you have as an individual and the energy that you have to serve or give others is a precious resource. And so with the higher access, you are gifting more of a precious resource from your expertise and knowledge, and that ability for that transformation to happen is more likely to happen quicker, faster, more effectively than, hey, here's my guidebook, follow my YouTube video tutorial, here's this DIY version, which is helpful. And, you don't know what you don't know, so it's still good to turn to an expert. But it is a diluted sampling of the time and energy that you could have access to. So I hope that answers what you mean by
No,
access.
I think that's excellent. I guess one of the ways that I think of this is when you have someone that you're paying, say, as a coach.
Yeah.
You've got a direct relationship with them. There's like a one-to-one, we can make this happen, and this is directly tailored to my needs. You can go straight to the question. However, if you are filtering through a YouTube video, you're like, will this YouTube video actually solve my problem? And then you watch the video and you're like, dang it, it didn't solve the problem. I have to go watch another one. And you go and you try and find it, and then you didn't get the problem solved again. And you're like, well, that kind of answered a little bit. Now I know a little bit better questions to ask. But that, for me, access to someone that has been there, done that, they have the experience, they are in the field, and they're ready to just, if you can use the harvest example, they're ready to harvest. And these ideas that they plant in your head or that they give you are time savers, because you don't now you don't have to go and try and sift through dozens, if not hundreds of hours of content online to try and figure out, well, what's the actual answer to my problem that will help me make a shift.
This is a good point I want to
go
just add about access is your time and energy is precious. So if you have set aside the funds or you have the cash flow coming in, it is so worth it to pay for expertise, for counsel, for all those things, because you save your time and energy that you would have just been scavenging around on the internet when someone else could just point you directly to what you need.
I think that type of confidence is what you pay a coach for.
Yeah.
is you're like, hey, I have 40 choices. A coach can be like, well, 35 of those are really just not going to help you. These five might help you, but these three are really the ones that you want to focus on. Where do you want to go? And you help them
Mhm.
understand, oh, this is where I want to go. Well, then these two are your only choices. Do you want to do it fast or do you want to go a little bit slower?
Yeah.
I want to do it fast. Okay, now this is the hard work you need to put in. And they
Yes.
can help you blind, like not blind, you can block out all of
Yes.
those distractions because it's really easy to get distracted in business. It's so much fun to hear how all these different people are doing things.
Yeah.
But in your experience, what has helped you focus on the things that are in your control to move the needle in your business?
Yeah. Actually, I've done this for myself, and a lot of as a business owner myself, I see what we're doing with my clients and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I apply it to myself. And then whatever I do myself, I apply to my clients. And so one of those is the business health assessment. And I started it out for myself. It's called like a clean slate. So anytime I'd get overwhelmed with my creative mind and I was like, oh, I could do this, I could do that. Oh, and you just get into this brainstorming mode and you're like, here's all the possibilities. Oh my gosh, that's so many possibilities. Is then in the business health assessment, it's like, let's take a look at actually what your business plan is, what your structures are, and out of everything you could work on, what is the highest and best use of your time and energy right now? What are the 1 to 3 projects that are important for you to focus on for these next 90 days? And everything else that's a really cool idea can go on your running ideas list. That
Mm.
is a place for them. And that has helped me so much because then I'm like, this is not necessarily a no, it's a no, not yet. And
Yeah.
so then that time we talked about the law of the harvest, that time that sometimes an idea needs to have to germinate, then to grow, and then to become something that you actually have a lot more clarity on. Oh, I wanted to do this webinar. Like, I'm in the process of germinating on an idea of a 3-hour webinar for real estate investors or people who just want to be passive investors, 101 education. I'm like,
Yeah.
bring in all those experts. I was like, who do I want to speak? What kind of topics? All those things. But I don't have to just make it tomorrow. I can just be germinating on that while I'm focusing on outreach or I'm focusing on my clients right now or whatever is that focus. So I think it's really important for us to take time to reflect. And there has been this phrase that I really like. It's called slow down to speed up.
Mhm.
And if you actually take a moment to breathe, like literally, I've been learning more about breath work. You're here in the moment and you look at what you're facing, more often than not, it's not as overwhelming as you think. And especially if you have a sounding board, whether that's a friend or a business colleague or a coach or whoever, if you have a sounding board to be like, here's everything that I'm facing, and you can verbalize that or you write it down or somehow you express it outside of your head and you see it then in front of you and you go, oh, okay. Like I had one of my clients, Andy, he's a lawn spray care professional and has a team of over 15 guys. They were all out and about doing their work, and he was stuck in the office and had all of these pieces of paper were tons of projects and ideas all over his desk. I was like, okay, we're going to look at each of these and categorize them into groups. So he had like 3 piles, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is my invoices, these are my notes, and this is actually my action steps. And so now when he looked at that, it was so much less overwhelming because it was just, oh, I don't need to worry about those. My accountant's going to take care of all of these invoices. Sweet. Oh, these are just notes for later. Oh, okay, here's my pile of actual action steps. There's only 10 papers. And so that is something that I find so incredibly valuable is slow down so you can speed up. So we slowed down for a second. So instead of running, let me take care of all these papers. Oh, instead, he was like, oh, wow, that's all it is. And then he had just a little sorting system to go forward and be like, okay, now I know actually how to handle this when all that input comes in again. Slow down, take an assessment. What are the like categories? remove the things you don't have to focus on right now, and then speed up on the things that actually matter.
I love that, because if you slow down enough to know what is your priority, not what might be your priority, you have more confidence moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think that organization, that's something that all of us at times need to just be like, all right, wait a second. Am I focusing on the thing that actually matters right now? Am I doing the thing that needs to be done or the thing that is the highest priority? Because there's a difference between, hey, this needs to be done and this is a priority.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about priority, because I think this is so helpful in creating great offers and creating valuable connections with people, why is priority something that if someone pays more, they get higher priority versus someone that doesn't pay as much, doesn't get as high of a priority as far as a customer? We're going to
Hmm.
talk about that in your business.
Okay, so you were talking about paying for access, and I like this concept also about paying for priority. Is you know that not only do you have access to that professional, but you as the customer know that when you have a question, it will be thoughtfully answered quickly, and you will be given the time of the day.
Mhm.
And that is, again, like I keep reiterating, is it's a precious resource to share time. Like right now, this is really cool. Like I'm getting to know you better. We're having conversation. These people listening are getting value, and this is us sharing our time and our energy, which is a precious resource.
Right.
And we're broadcasting it and we're sharing it because that's of value. And so when you have focused your priorities on specific clients that are your top priority, you're showing them that they are valued,
Mm.
that you value and respect them, and you are there for them to make sure that their ailments, their problems, or getting closer to their dreams are important to not only themselves but to you. And that kind of confidence, like you said, and support is really helpful, especially if you're like a solopreneur or you've been like the main linchpin business owner for the longest time and you're just kind of exhausted. It's really nice to have someone who does treat you as a priority, because then you are actually able to feel validated. And with that validation and the prioritization, you get your questions answered, you can take more decisive action, which then makes things move forward the way you need them to.
I love that. I think when you're talking about taking decisive action, that is something that I think a lot of times in my previous job, I didn't have that much decisive action that I had to take. I would say, well, I have this curriculum, I'm just going to go teach it, versus this is what's going to have the highest and best use of my time. And because as a business owner, if you aren't using your time wisely,
Yeah.
your time still gets used up. It's sad, but it's so easy to get distracted death scrolling on your phone,
Yeah.
or like going and say, you know what, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And then tomorrow turns into 3 weeks. It's so easy to not do the things that matter.
Oh,
Uh,
great. I want to add a thought is
oh, go
also,
ahead.
in addition to prioritization, it is so important to give yourself an actual real estimate for how long it will take to do something. So
Oh, that's a good point.
when we talk about slow down to speed up, it's really important for you to double your expectation of how long it will take to do something,
Mm,
so that you have buffer time. So on my calendar, I have like 15 to 30 minutes between anybody booking an appointment. Because how many times, even on Zoom, do calls run over? And then I'm not showing that prioritization to the next person, right? So if I can have project time, right? So the way I block out my time on my calendar, I call that the creative life flow, is I'm not strict to the point where like every single 15 minutes is dedicated to this exact thing. As a business owner, or even in real estate, like you need to be adaptive. You're like, oh, this is an opportunity. I need to be able to move around. But if you're able to work on a project and you needed dedicated time and you do not want any distractions and you need to just focus on it, then you think, oh, I'll get that done in a half hour. Give yourself an hour or two.
ooh, that's a really great point. I'm going to share an idea that was given to me by a guy named Cosimo Intermite, which kind of plays really similar into this. It's from our Genius in 21 Days class, but he talked about creating a distraction list.
Mm,
This is brilliant because I wish I had this in school because it's so easy to get distracted. But when you block off that time to stay
yeah.
focused, there will be these little butterflies of ideas that come floating in, and you're like, oh, I want to remember that. You write it on the distraction list, and then you set it aside, and you're like, I choose not to focus on that right now. And then when the butterfly comes again, you're like, oh, I wanted to remember that, and you write it on the distraction list, and you put it aside. I don't know how many of you guys are using that tool, but it's so helpful because when you get distracted, all of your focus goes away. And there's another Chinese expression here. This is another one for your daughter, right? She's gonna love this.
That's all for my
Uh,
daughter.
yeah, there's a story of this mother who's fishing with her son, and her son sees this little butterfly, or no, it was a ching-ching, it was a dragonfly, and he's like, oh wow, look at that, and he went and he started chasing after um the ching-ching, or the dragonfly, and as he got pretty close to that, he saw the little bait was, their little bob was going on his fishing line, so he ran back over there, and then the fish went away. He's like, dang it, he didn't catch the dragonfly, and he didn't catch a fish. And the idea is, if you don't focus wholeheartedly on one thing, you do both of them poorly.
I have
And
a thought from this.
yeah,
Um,
Ishin EE is what the
Ishi,
expression is. Go ahead.
how do you say it?
Ishin, one heart, EE, one meaning.
Do you know Chinese?
Yeah, I speak Mandarin.
Oh, that's
I
amazing.
used to teach Mandarin Chinese in theater in high school. That was what I did before I became a real estate investor.
That's so cool. Ni
Yeah.
hao. Uh, so I love this story. Something that's interesting is a lot of entrepreneurs, whether you're in real estate or whatever industry, um, tend to, I like saying a creative mind. Some people will say ADD, ADHD, whatever. And it's the impulse problem. I don't think it's actually a focus, because when he was focused on the dragonfly, he was focused on the dragonfly. But
Yeah.
then he got distracted from it. And the impulse was that I see this other thing. I now must go chase it. Impulse right away, right now. Instead of, oh, well, I don't have enough time to get to that fishing line. I really want this dragonfly. Like
I love
I'm focused on it. I'm good. I saw the distraction. The impulse is the problem. The impulse is like, I must go ahead and do this right away, right now. And there's strength in being able to make decisive action and do it right then and like go for it, but then keep going for it. It's like that's the problem. A lot of people that I have met who deal with ADHD or in that impulse problem is like, oh, I hear my phone ring. You're in the mode, whatever, you hear that ping, and then it's just bothering you. You're like, I want to know what someone said. I have no idea who messaged me. I have no idea what it's about, but because I have no idea, I want to know.
Yeah.
So even just in that distraction mode, setting up yourself for success is really powerful too. Being like, okay, you have your distraction list, and then make sure that your phone is not going to interrupt you with a ding or a
Mhm.
buzz or anything. Like turn it off on airplane mode or something. And then you can come back. There truly isn't a lot of emergencies. This is what I realized is literally emergency surgeons schedule the surgery and get a good night's rest. And I hope for the sake of the person having surgery that the surgeon does take it seriously and gets a good night's rest, is ready for that surgeon or surgery. A firefighter, if they are not on call, they're about doing their family life, whatever. But when they are on call and they're 24/7, they are going to be at that fire. But those are like literally emergency service people, and they can still schedule their time. And so our businesses are most likely not true emergencies. And so if you need to have something solved, most likely when you're setting aside that time, you'll find your messages and you'll be like, okay, now I can address whatever that phone call was. Now I can address whatever that message was. And I just feel like that's really important to reiterate is It's about that impulse problem. Like, I've got to take care of everything right now.
And giving yourself permission to say, this is not something that's a priority right now, but this is.
Hmm.
And I guess sometimes we do have those amazing opportunities that come up and you're like,
Yeah.
I can't miss that. And that's one of the things I love about being a business owner is you can be flexible. You can say, oh, that's actually a higher and better use of my time than what I thought. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go catch that butterfly because that's going to be the thing that I absolutely need to do. And then you go and you commit and you finish it. Because I think this is another great idea in Mandarin. It's wancheng. Perfection and completion are the same word in Mandarin, right? It's beautiful, wancheng. When you finish what you start, that's that completion idea. And in Greek, it's teleos. It means to complete, to go full circle. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you did not have a blemish or it was without mistakes. It was finished. So I think going off of your idea of really understanding the impulses that people have, if that impulse is something you can complete, you can bring it all the way to completion, then just assess, is that the highest and best use of my time? If it is, go do it, right? Go catch that little
Yeah.
butterfly or the ching ting, the dragonfly, and that's fine. Go
I
ahead.
have a thought to add to yours is, so we've talked about, having a way to reduce the distractions, understanding what your impulses are, focusing to completion, and everything that we've talked about before needs to have your vision and your values and what your purpose is in your
Absolutely.
business in mind. Because when you see that other opportunity that may be a higher and better use of your time, that you are going to pivot from what you were doing, if you do have a clear vision in mind what you're creating for your business, like my mission is to help 10,000 business owners in the next 7 years to go from struggling to survive to absolutely thriving. So if what I'm pivoting to still aligns with that mission, then okay, then it is a higher and better use of my time. But if that is just like, I'm going to go speak on 20 stages and I'm going to do blah blah blah, like, but for why? But for what reason? Does that still go towards me serving these people? No, it's a distraction from my entire mission. Okay, that's actually not a higher and better use of my time. So I feel like having your vision and mission clear in your mind and heart and knowing what your principles and values are as a business owner will help you to make decisions that remain ethical, remain high quality, and really that you'll stay caring for serving the people you promised that you would fulfill on a service for them, and not just be like, oh, I have 10 clients over here and I sold them this program. Now I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks on this incredible speaking engagement and not communicate to my people that I'm going to be gone. So they paid for access to you. And now all of a sudden you're gone. You're like, well, I have this great opportunity. It's like, but is that in line with what your mission and your values and your vision are for what you're creating? So I feel like that's also important in helping us to make that decision.
Right. And you definitely need to have that check and balance. If you don't have a mission statement and a vision statement, actually have them aligned,
Hmm.
then those choices are actually much more challenging because then you have to make a choice every single time you have a new opportunity.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have
Decision.
them in alignment, you're like, oh, does that fit in here? Nope. Okay, good. Does this fit in? Nope. And it's just a yes or no rather than have to assess 40 different points. Well, to make the money, is this actually something that I want to do? Is it going to give me the value that I want? Like,
Yeah.
does it fit into my mission or no? No. Okay. Easy is easy choice. And I think most of the time, people will choose easy over money a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that you guys are catching my drift because one of the things that I love to do with this Leveling Up podcast is to share patterns of progress, to share success stories, and to help you be able to help yourself find that one nugget of wisdom that will help you level up in your life. So in your vast experience with consulting and with connecting with people, what has been one thing that you've learned that you're like, man, if business owners would just do this one thing, it would make a massive difference?
A very, very powerful, important message is that your business is not about you. Even if you're the face of your brand, even if you're the one talking all the time, it's about who you're serving. Always. The message should be about who you're serving. The research you're doing to develop a program should be about who you're serving. The transformation that they're going to experience, the client journey that they have along the way, the way that the community feels around your brand, your business, what you're creating, the impact that you're having is important to you. But ultimately, it's about who you are serving. And that's where the value is created.
I love that.
We put price points on things because we want a energetic exchange that's fair for everyone involved. But ultimately, it's about them, their problem, solving it, helping transformation happen, and that they're heard. And so your messaging, everything is about who you're serving.
I love that. Your ideal client and what they want. I love the way that Greg Kimball brings this up. He's one of my business coaches. And he says, if someone is trying to just sell you a solution without actually knowing where you want to go, they're just selling you something. But as soon as you connect with someone that says, well, what do you want to do? What are you attempting, or what are you going after? And if they can solve it with a very simple program, great. That might be like a 20 or 30 or $100 or $200 a month thing. And maybe that's all you need right now. That's fine. Then they'll give you that solution. But if you're like, I need the hand holding to be able to do this because I'm not able to do it by myself in a time frame that I want, then you're like, all right, now we're gonna go to that next level of service. And maybe it's like, I don't want to just do it with a couple other people. I want one-on-one access, like priority. I want to be able to do this in a way that my goals are going to be hit, period. Then you get that one-on-one high ticket offer that allows them to get the highest level of service. So Christine, if I could ask you this other question, what was a question that I didn't ask that I should have?
For you as an individual who owns a business and is a real estate investor, talking to a business consultant who helps real estate investors and business owners, what you should have asked is also something that you have had buzzing on your mind, like out of everything that you're trying to create and that you want to work on, the kind of support that you would want. I'm here, I'm ready. Like whatever question you have specifically tailored towards you can benefit whoever's listening. So if you want to ask that question, something that you're like, man, if I could work on out of everything I've got going on, I'm traveling, you're doing this podcast and all these things that you have happening, out of everything that you have happening, what is the highest, best use of your time? Or like whatever kind of question you want to ask that would serve you, I would love to help be a sounding board, help with that.
I love it. Okay, so I just had a question pop in my head.
Okay.
One of my biggest struggles, because I'm a very creative person, is I can't stand doing bookkeeping. It is just like, ugh, suck at it. It is very necessary, guys. I'm going to say it, it's important. I do what I can. But in your experience, when you have someone that doesn't enjoy that activity, and honestly, I'm not very good at it, what would you suggest in making sure that not only is it done, but it's done timely, and make sure that your taxes are put correctly so that you're not wasting time? Because sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, oh, this is taking me forever and I don't know what I'm doing. I get so irritated with this because I'm like, I don't know where all these don't add up. I don't get it. But then I go and talk to an accountant and they're like, oh, just here. And I was like, duh, took you 4 seconds, took me an hour to figure this out. I hate it.
Yeah.
So what's your 2 bits on that?
So it sounds like to me that I'm hearing the zone of genius for you is not bookkeeping.
Not even a little bit.
The area you want to spend your time is not that. So it's a necessary, important part of business is to reconcile your books, make sure you have good budgets and all those things. There's 2 approaches. There is do it yourself, or there is hiring an accountant. So knowing how to do it yourself, when you offload that to an accountant, a bookkeeper that you trust, you will know what they're doing. You will know clearly what your chart of accounts are. You will know what your budgets are. So having someone that you can turn to for even an hour, that you can say, hey, I'm going to hire this accountant for an hour once a month. Or I'm going to have them just do it for me, but I'm going to have the knowledge on how to read my reports and to know if the profit and loss statement that I'm getting back from them or the balance sheet looks off. So I'm going to have gone through enough of my operating expenses that I know what they should be. And I know what my budgets are if I have extra money to spend on marketing, extra money to spend on leadership development. And if you view the financial side of your business and the reconciliation of it as a game that you can play when you're needing to, then you're like, okay, I'm playing this game. And it's really up to you, Brigham, on how to decide, do I want to spend my time here? Or am I going to evolve that to have somebody else take care of it and I just check in on it? So that's when you truly like, if this is causing me so much frustration and energy and loss of time and all that precious resource, how am I moving myself over to being able to offload that? Oh no, looks like Valerie's the host. He got cut off. Well, whoever is on here, I'm happy to still answer questions if you want to put them in the chat. I've been seeing some great things in here. Eric messaged me directly saying, thank you for the insight on focus and impulse. Absolutely awesome distractionless tool and dragonfly and fishing story. I did love the story that Brigham shared. And the question from Eric, do you know of any links you can send me on focus that you were speaking on? So when you're talking about links, Eric, there are tools on YouTube, and I'm sure you can find them, but probably just take note and internalize what you really want in your life and business. What is your focus as far as your vision? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you creating? And then when you feel like you're getting distracted, you can revisit your vision and say, does this align with it or not? Then if you're talking about project specific focus, then that is when you set up your environment for success. Are you in a distraction-free environment, or are you in an environment where it's making you want to get up and move and go away from what your project is? And then let's see if anyone else. We have Chelsea, making it work, training on a call. Exactly. What other initiatives are you supporting? So right now I have a spring special for Harvest Consulting, and it actually is just until tomorrow, Friday. And that is for the group, the accountability cohort. That is a space where you are able to focus, put on the blinders, have a very important linchpin project that you've been putting off on the back burner, time designated to it on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And you're able to sample that by coming and visiting for free, or you can come and be a part of the community in the cohort and have that access that we've been talking about. So, hi, Virgo. I was just answering questions that were in the chat before you came back on, and I can help answer your question a little more. I don't hear you. You're muted.
Oh, no worries. I said I don't know why the internet went out for just that time, but it did. So I'm glad that you're able to keep going.
Oh yeah, yep. I'm adaptable, right?
No,
so
we have to be adaptable. That's so key.
I do have a question. Where did you leave off? Like, what was the last thing I was saying in your answer? So I can make sure you have that answer.
Man, you're just talking about your zone of genius. When you stay in your zone of genius, you're able to, have the highest and best use of your time there. But be like, hey, even if it's for an hour a day, go, or an hour, not a day, an hour a month, go and find somebody that can help you learn how to do those books, or how to at least understand what it is that you don't like doing about your business.
Yeah.
And then it got cut off, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So, and in very, very shorter, like, recap terms, like, you've got to decide, since we absolutely know that's not your zone of genius, You have to decide if you want to reframe how you look at it, that it's like, hey, I designate 1 hour a week to reviewing these, and I view this as a game. I'm super grateful for the money that I have. I'm viewing it as a play game. Like, what do I get to do with the money that's in here? Do I want to shift around my budget? Do I want to change the allocations, or do I want to keep it the same? If that's what you decide to continue doing because you don't want to offload it yet, then shift how you look at it. If you are ready to start the process of moving over to delegating it to someone else, you still want to be, as the business owner, someone who has the understanding of what the chart of accounts is, all of those different accounts, what the budgets are, what your pro forma goals are, so that you can ask someone who's an expert, hey, I saw the profit and loss statement. This kind of looks off. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And kind of challenge it instead of just getting the reports from your accountant, being like, this one doesn't quite seem right. Or I actually spent $1,000 on this bigger trip, more than I was expecting. Where can we cut for the next couple months? And save some money here and there. And then truly using your accountant as an advisor rather than just an assistant who's doing your bookkeeping. I think a lot of people who do finally offload their bookkeeping to someone else treat their bookkeeper like that. Just be my assistant, do this for me. I don't want to do it. But then they abdicate responsibility for the financial side of their business instead of still being the business owner, aware of everything that's going on, but just having someone else be their advisor and support in that space that's their zone of genius and not yours. So I do have several people who are accountants who are in that advisory kind of mindset, and they do like profit first. I don't know if you've read that book, but Profit First is how to run my business. And
Mike Michalowicz, what's his name?
Yeah.
Mike Michalowicz, I think I don't know how to say it. It's I have read that book once though. It's good.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that as far as like being able to make that decision and say, okay, I know that accounting is important to me. Now it's really, do I want to continue doing it myself? If so, this is how I can designate my time. I don't have to think about it all day, every day. It's just here's when it's designated. Or I want to move over to someone else taking care of it for me, but I'm still going to be aware enough to make decisions from the data.
Yeah. For me, I'm more of that. For me, I'm like, I'm at that point where I want to understand what's going on, but I want to be able to read reports rather than have to create the reports.
Yeah.
So
now there's that clarity being like, instead of me just sitting here and doing this and being frustrated, it's time for me to start that transition of offloading it to someone else. So that is where you then begin shopping for someone to help you with it. And let me know if you want connections, because I have some really good ones.
I'm always open for connections. If that person is someone that will help me get to where I want to go faster, I love it, because I honor my time and I'm grateful for it. So I want to make sure that
is something that I do want people to understand is, if there is open time on my calendar, I do have 1 hour business power sessions. They're called the business health assessment, and they can just do what we just did right there. They can opt into 1 hour and just be like, I just need a sampling. I just need to tune into Christine's expertise in being able to sort through everything that I'm facing and be like, oh, I just need that sounding board to help me make a decisive choice and take action on it.
Yeah. I'm sure you've probably heard this before, but anytime you hear the word decision, the root of that word has to cut, or an incision. So we cut away those things that we don't want, and we keep what we do. And when you're dreading in Mandarin, it's dreading, you have basically tied the knot on what it is that you want to accomplish, and you're cutting off the other parts that you don't want. So you think about the way that we are in business. Are we able to be decisive, or are we floundering? Are we just wondering whether we're making a good choice? I think that's one of my favorite things about having a good consultant, having a good coach, is I have clarity. Because a confused mind doesn't buy, right? A confused mind doesn't take action. A confused mind will just go and think and overthink and creates that analysis paralysis. I don't know if you guys have experienced this in the audience, but when you don't know what to do, a lot of times you start searching, and in your searching, you get even more distracted and more distracted. And then you're like, why was I even searching in the first place? So, Christine, what has been one thing that you would give yourself as far as some encouragement that would make a huge difference in, say, like the 5-year version of yourself? 5 years ago, you're like, hey, Christine, that was 5 years younger than me.
Oh,
This is the thing you need to listen to. This is what you need to do.
5 years ago was quite an interesting point in my life, actually. I was that was like right before I experienced my divorce. That was like right before COVID shut down. There was a lot going on in 2019. What advice or counsel would I give that version of me? Is that what the question is?
Like a brand new business owner, someone that's like, hey, I've been doing this for a little while, but
Yeah.
now you're a little wiser, a little more in the know. What would you tell yourself?
Oh, wow. I would say that that version of me was, yeah. So I'd talk to Christine and I'd say, hey, Christine, I know that you're going through a lot and there's a lot of decisions to make. It's super important to get out of your head, to breathe and tap into your body and listen to what you actually desire and create from there. Create from a place that is truly inspired, that is alive within you, and you will love what you're creating, even if it's hard, even if the journey has ups and downs and your emotions are in different places. You'll be solid because you know you're creating something from you and not from what anyone else is saying and all the voices that you'll learn from coaches and consultants and marketing experts and all these people on how to run your business. But if you can kind of get out of your head and that analysis paralysis to just go down into your body and tap into your own wisdom and go, yeah, this feels like something I am proud of creating, you'll just be fine. That's how I would talk to her.
Guys, I hope you're catching that. I feel that. Breathe, actually recognize what it is that you want. I think that's phenomenal encouragement. And how do people find you online? What is it that, if you're like, hey, here's how you connect with Christine, how do people find you?
Yeah, so I can also put that in the chat, but it's Christine Diamond Consultant on Instagram, Christine Diamond on Facebook, same on LinkedIn. Also, I'm putting in here my website is consultingwithharvest.com. And I was talking about the spring special, which does end tomorrow. And you can get into the accountability cohort and have a whole business health assessment. And I can give you more details if you message me, and I'd be happy to provide that.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you so much, Christine. Thank you for being here with us. It was awesome to share some heartbeats, some ideas, some insights. I hope this was helpful for all of you guys. I hope you level up your life and your business so hard that you don't even recognize yourself in a few years. This has been another episode of Leveling Up with Brigham Black. I'm so thankful to have you, Christine. Thank you for your time and energy and effort. It is such a pleasure to share some time with you.
Appreciate it.
God bless everybody.
Bye. We'll see you.